All right, we are recording. Justine, welcome, welcome, welcome to SCCaR Sacred Cracks, Crevices and Rubies. I am so grateful to have you here. It feels like destiny on so many levels. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing precious time and energy to participate in this passion project with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. How are you coming in today?
Oh, well, I'm coming in with a lot of threads, a lot
Ah,
of things like alive in the field. I'm
mhm.
coming in with joy. I'm coming in with just having eaten a delicious lunch. I'm coming in with a little bit of like, whoa, I thought I was going to be in a different location, but then that location was getting like a massive clear out and purge of stuff. And so it was not a quiet enough environment, and so I'm back in my house right now. So
Mhm.
I'm here in my new home, and really, I was so delighted when you invited me to be on this because I feel like you and I met in such a magical way, and every time I've had the opportunity to have an interaction or an email with you, it feels like you're just a longtime friend and beloved pen pal and fellow journeyer on this planet, and it's just such a delight. Like having any interaction with you is just brings me so much joy and yes, and seeing your creativity blossom in the world. And so I'm just personally very excited to be here because I feel like there is something beautiful that wants to emerge and some very interesting things to be explored. And I'm
Mm.
just ready to be here and be curious together.
Same here. I agree. I've always felt like you were a kindred spirit from the moment that we met, and you always bring a smile to my face. Everything you do, everything you write, you're just so utterly talented and one of those really special, special souls in the world. And I'm so honored and privileged to call you friend and continue on this journey with you and to play with you in this container. And speaking of play, Justine, I know how observant you are because I recall that distinctly and meeting you in person and also following you online. Can you share one or two moments of sheer wonderment and joy and just a moment that just left you melted inside and out? Just brought a huge smile on your face and just emanated out into the world.
Like recently or just in general?
Recently, let's say in the last week or so.
Okay. 'Cause I was like, oh wow, if I have to think about the entirety of my lifetime, there would be a lot of those moments. Um, I'll share one
Mhm.
that started a couple weeks ago because I have I have some new work that I'm doing that I'm very excited about that I really haven't talked about publicly at all yet. So
Mhm.
this is a little bit of a
Yes.
sharing publicly for the first time.
Mhm.
Um, but this new work has some new people attached to it, and one of these new people is a man named Michael, who's been a good friend of my husband UJ's for about 8 years, and so Michael
Mhm.
has also become a dear friend of mine. Him and his wife and their 3 kids. And Michael was over here a couple weeks ago, and out of the blue, he just looks at me and he goes, "I want to buy you a bicycle for your birthday." And what was really funny is I turned 40 in mid-February, and the gift that I committed to giving to myself was a bicycle.
Oh, wow.
So I told him, "Absolutely not. You may not buy me a bicycle. That is a lovely gesture." And I really received the love and the energy in that
Mhm.
gesture. But
Mhm.
this is a very special gift that I am going to be gifting myself. And so, do you want to come with me to buy a bicycle? And he was like, "Yes, I'll come with you to buy your bicycle." And so we went yesterday
Wow.
afternoon to
Mhm.
the shops
Mhm.
down the road with the bicycles. And I knew I wanted a trek because for many, many years in my life, the last time I bought a bicycle was when I graduated from college. and I bought myself a touring bicycle,
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
520. And I loved this bicycle so much. I decked it out. I put a cool seat on it. It had reflectors and bags and different pedals, and so many things about it were just so joyful. And I would ride like 25 miles multiple times a week and just like
Mhm.
whiz through nature, smelling the smells and seeing the trees and waving at the people. And just, it brings me so much joy because I've had such a positive relationship with bicycles for most of my life.
Mhm.
And learning to
Mhm.
ride a bicycle was one of the hardest things that I ever did because I ran it into a ditch when I was 6 and it was terrifying. And so I didn't ride a bike for 2 more years
Mhm.
until
Mhm.
this one summer, and I was determined to ride a bicycle. And so I was really scared of falling. And so I kind of balanced myself around like my basement, which was like full of clutter, but it had like a little circle that went around all of the HVAC equipment in the basement. And so I went around and around until I was like, I think I can do this. And I finally had the courage to take the bike outside. And I pedaled and I did it. And it was like something in me just unlocked. It was like the freest feeling that I had ever had.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and so I've had this relationship with a bike throughout my life.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, I sold my last bicycle when I went to travel. And I
Mhm.
figured, okay, when I'm back, I'll buy a bike and this and that. And it never happened. Not that I
Mm.
wasn't riding bikes, but I would like borrow them from bike shares and or rent them, along a
Mhm.
pathway by the sea or things like that. But I
Mhm.
didn't have a bike of my own. So I knew when I was landing in this new community in Austin that I really wanted to have the chance to buy a bike.
Mm.
And so
Mhm.
we walked in, the doors opened, and it was very close to closing time, which I think was great.
Yeah.
And I knew what I wanted, so I told the gentleman at the shop what I wanted, and he said, "Okay, look at these 2 racks." And I looked up, and there was like a shiny peacock blue bicycle. And I was like, "I think that's my bike. I think that's my bike."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so the gentleman took it down and he was like, "Do you want to take it for a test ride?" And I said, "Absolutely." And it
Mhm.
was perfectly my size, and it was on clearance, and it felt so good to just push my foot on the pedal and whiz around the parking lot. I was like, I feel like something that I've been missing in my life has come back to me, and
Mhm.
I feel so filled with joy and delight, remembering so many happy moments in my life on bicycles, but also this determination to do something that I was really afraid of doing, and how
Mhm.
much joy came from leaning into that fear ultimately, and how I got comfortable with the discomfort until the discomfort turned into comfort. And then
Mm.
from there, it was like, "Oh, I'm on fire. I have wings on my ankles and I'm ready to go." So that's my delightful moment. One of many delightful moments, but a delightful moment from this past week.
Wow, I love that. I love every element of the story, even your telling it and the details, the peacock blue and that it was on clearance. And I mean, it just this manifestation, this synchronicity. I love about going through the discomfort until that becomes comfort, that whole journey, and just the delight in your face and the delight in your voice. It just oozed out. So thank you so much for sharing such a beautiful and for me inspiring story as well too. I was taken by what you said in terms of learning to ride a bicycle was one of the hardest things that you've ever done, because it takes me to this beautiful creation. This beautiful, beautiful book. Today is a new day, and you being a children's book author, I wish there was emojis here that I could put hearts and dancing women and cheers and what have you, because you have written such a gorgeous book. I have a copy for myself that literally is in my bedroom. I read it every other day. So it serves my heart. I also bought a copy for my 6 going on 7-year-old niece as well too. It's just such a gorgeous, gorgeous. You're an amazing writer. You always have been. And so I'm curious about the journey to becoming an author and the journey to perhaps the beginning where there was some discomfort, and then ultimately that discomfort transforming into comfort for you. However you want to share that journey. I'm curious about it. That's one of the main reasons I'd love to have you here, because I feel like there's something there that will ultimately serve all of us. So wherever you want to start to talk about today is a new day and how you birthed this beautiful thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
So a few moments along the way popped in as you were speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that came to me is how Robert Greene in the book Mastery talks about primal inclinations. And these are like, this is what we came in with. This is the things we're naturally attracted to, the things that bring us joy and light us up and help us grow and help us want to dedicate ourselves to a craft. I feel like human beings at the core, we're creative, community-based, team-based beings who bridge heaven and earth and walk between worlds. We walk in a very material world, but we also walk in a very etheric, non-material world. And so we're these interesting antenna beings who have the gift of creativity and the gift of creating tools that help us experience and go deeper into what this creation is. And one of my primal inclinations is words. I love words. I love knowing where words come from. I want to know what words mean energetically and vibrationally. And I remember a story my parents told me about, we were on a walk and I must have been young, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 or something. And we had been walking around a park. And so I had pointed at a sign and I said, "What's that? What does that say? What are those? There's letters on this sign and they say something." And I can't remember exactly what the word is, but it was kind of a long word for a 2 or 3-year-old. And let's just say the word was like proximity or something. And so I've been given this word and we're walking around and we come back around to the sign and some people are passing us and I point at the sign and I go, "Proximity," because I remember the word. And the people walking by me were like, "Such a young child. She's reading. What's this amazing feat?" And it wasn't an amazing feat, but it does point to my curiosity about words. And as soon as I could read, I was like off to the library every week with my mom and my brother and my sister, and we would just venture to the public library and I would take out stacks and stacks of books. I would sit in the aisles with the big shelves up above me and I would pull off anything that I thought looked interesting, from history to UFOs to natural history and geography and the environment and animals or penguins, or it's just like I just wanted to understand everything and how it fit together. So it didn't really matter what the topic was. It was just, there was this curiosity and delight to like, wow, I can understand all this and people have studied it and I can understand what they've studied. And so I would take stacks of books home every week, and then we'd come back and I would read them all and then return them. And I think when I was about 8, I wrote my first poem. I was given a small diary that had I can't remember the author, but it's from Renaissance times. It's like a unicorn in like a round fenced in area. And I think it was tapestry, these unicorn tapestries. And so I had this unicorn on this journal. And in that journal, I wrote a poem about apples. Apples, apples, sweet and tart, apples, apples make you smart. Apples, apples, sweet and round, falling softly to the ground. Apples are my favorite food when I'm in an apple mood.
How cute, how precious.
And so that was my first poem.
Yeah.
And I started writing poetry and journaling, and I loved writing. Like, one of my favorite things to do was to write in school. And when I had a chance to write, I would write, but I got locked into this very kind of academic style of writing that they teach you in school. And then I realized, wow, I actually need to unlearn this to express myself. And so I started journaling a lot more once I graduated from college. And of course, I had been writing all throughout that, but I was a very shy writer in terms of sharing my own stuff. Like, I wasn't sure it was good. I wasn't sure if I wanted to share it. There were all of these things, but finally, I had this poem that I wrote originally in 2011 and written it after I had been sick. I had been very sick for 3 weeks, strep throat and an ear infection and flu. And it was just, I was miserable. The only thing I had the energy to do is just like sit in bed and make art. And as I was beginning to emerge from being sick, I was sprawled out on the ground with my colored pencils and my papers around me. I started to it was like a little something was dancing around. And that's a lot of how I've written throughout my life, is like, all of a sudden I'll just hear a couple of words or maybe feel the shape of a phrase. And then I start to write, and it's like there's something behind it. There's this whole thing that just pours out. And that was the experience of this poem pouring out. And I was like, I wonder if this could be a book, but I was young at that point, that was like 10, 15 years ago. I was still in my early 20s, and there was a lot that I didn't know. And, making a book felt like a really big thing. So I was like, maybe it would go on a poster. Maybe it would be like a whimsically designed poster that somebody might hang up in their bedroom or their bathroom or their playroom, or, so I played with these ideas and never really did anything with it. But I did copy the poem over a few times, and I gifted it to my Oma, my grandmother, other relatives. And then during the pandemic, it was like, this poem was like, poke, 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 right on the shoulder. And it was like, can I be a book, please? And I was like, oh, you want to be a book? Okay. You asked very nicely. You have, you've been around for 10 plus years at this point, and you're still wanting to be a book. Like, okay, you're going to be a book. And what was really cool at that point was it didn't feel so far away anymore. I happened to marry a man who's been in the industry of self-publishing.
Wow.
Who worked with overseas manufacturers to make published products. And so he co-created something with his business partner called the 5-Minute Journal, and went on to be very successful with the 5-Minute Journal. They've sold over 2 million copies. And so he really understood, okay, this is what it takes to turn a written idea into a physical product. And so life had magically orchestrated everything around me that I needed to create this book. Sharing the poem with people. And UJ, my husband, actually gave me some great feedback when he read it. He was like, this is such a great poem, but it's missing the struggle. It was missing the struggle. And I said, you're totally right. It was almost like a little, like just a whimsical piece of a thing, but there were pieces that were still missing. So I had to find them. So one afternoon I sat down and it was like the rest of it just popped out.
Wow. The rest of it just popped out.
Yeah.
You just birthed it. It was time. It was time. And it's interesting. I so appreciate what you share, and thank you for taking us down this beautiful journey and a beautiful example of synchronicity, right? When the universe wants something, timing is so key, readiness is so key, like literally the path is handed to you on a silver platter. And I so appreciate what your husband said to you. There's no struggle, because my favorite part of the book is the struggle. When there's all these vibrant colors, and there's so much joy and there's so much anticipation. It's like, oh, but I have to warn you. It's going to get a little bit dark. It's going to get a little bit tricky. You're going to get lost. And I love that, because that is life. That is exactly that is my favorite part of the book. I adore it so very much. It just rings so true, and doesn't give this unrealistic perspective of what this journey of following your heart, of planting the seed that's inside of you, what it will entail. What is your favorite part of the book? What part of, I mean, I often hear from artists, oh, I can't choose, they're all my babies and what have you, don't ask me to do that. But is there a part that is particularly resonant to Justine based on your background, your journey?
Yeah, my favorite lines out of the whole poem story is, look into your heart, you'll find a spark waiting. A brilliant light whose job is creating.
Yes.
Reach in for that spark and hold onto it tight. It can be trusted to make all things right.
Absolutely. That's a prayer. I feel like I always start reading the book with that, because it sets the tone. And in the world that we're living in, I think that's so critical, a message to put out into the world. And I love the primal inclination. I don't think we talk about that so much, like what was seeded in you to begin with, to put out there in the world. What has well, let me go back. There's also beautiful imagery. So you have the poem, and then there's the imagery. And here, this is collaboration. So there's your poetry, your words, and then there's a partner who's drawing this. Can you talk a little bit about what that collaboration was like?
Yes. And I will say, I feel like anything that we create really has its own timing. Like these ideas, these things that come to us, they know the right time to come. And I feel like it waited for exactly the right moment. I couldn't have forced or chosen that moment myself. It's like my human brain doesn't really compute enough of the whole. I mean, I think it does in some sort of level, but it feels like it's beyond words. And so it's almost it's a listening practice to hear, okay, well, when is the right time and when do I move? And I'm waiting to hear that from a more, like, a deeper source of intelligence. And I'm like, this isn't my timeline or my will. This is like something that is supportive of the whole. And it is my hope and intention and practice to deeply listen and to understand that life is very nonlinear and cyclical. And so to respect the cycles and circles, and to respect that there is something that's going on that's way beyond me and my ego and my little brain and my human experience. There's something much deeper happening. and that is very trustworthy, and that there is something of that deep intelligence in God that speaks to each of us individually, and that we can listen to that, and that will never lead us astray. And so to me, that's very much the heart of the book, the spark of the book, is that reminder, and that reminder to myself, because sometimes I can also forget that. And I need to be reminded that, I'm not holding it. I'm not holding the world on my shoulders. And this is not just me and myself and I by myself on my own lonesome journey, alone in my room. No, there are people, there are helpers, as Mr. Roger would say. You find the helpers and find the people who are on the same team so that you can team up and create something bigger and better for the world, because I really believe that we are here as beings of service and of giving back and of abundance and of leaving the world better than we found it. So that is a long little interjection there.
And an important one, Justine. And before we even get to, we'll continue on with collaboration. I'm taken by your ability to listen, to even hear that little tap that said from the poem that says, "I want to be a book." Talk to me, please, about listening. How do you cultivate the ability to listen? And how do you know what you're hearing is coming from that spark? It's coming from that light, is coming from source, when there's so much noise out there in the world?
Such a great question, and not always easy to discern. I've had plenty of missteps in my life where I've forgotten or been in a state of kind of panic or fear or anxiety. And it's like, oh, I just have to do the thing, right? And like, there's almost too much internal contraction where the listening becomes very hard. And so the first thing I would say is that listening comes from a state of receptivity and a state of expanded awareness and a state of, how do I want to phrase this? A state of, you could say non-attachment, but it's also like, I don't have an agenda. And not having an agenda helps a lot. I wasn't saying, please tell me the timing of my next creative project when the book, tapped me on the shoulder. I don't even remember where I was, but when you cultivate just a posture of receptivity, anything can come at any point. And the key is to be paying attention. A lot of that I learned from nature. I think, as so many of us get wonderful lessons from nature throughout our lives. And nature is such a beautiful teacher, such an immediate teacher. Right? It's like you walk into the thorn bush, you're going to get poked. And that's, that feedback is very fast. But I have had many thousands of hours of quiet walks through the woods. No phone, nobody with me, but just me and the forest and the ground and the trees and the wind and whatever else, the squirrels and the birds. And I grew up in New Hampshire, so there's a very specific forest called Beaverbrook Association, which is conservation land of about 3,200 acres. That was about 15 minutes from where I grew up. And so I would spend a lot of time there. And when you cultivate that sense of observation and opening yourself up to the world around you, it's the practice that allows for listening. Because if you're listening for a bird, or you're like, what am I hearing? Or what am I seeing? And you're allowing yourself to simply take the world in, it's something that builds over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went in 2010 and I got my permaculture design certificate, which, I'm not really a gardener. I love plants, but I'm not really like a hands in the dirt kind of person. I'm very much like ideas and abstract. But I took those permaculture lessons and I really applied it to my own energy system and my own understanding of how energy flows. And the first approach to permaculture is to observe and interact. And so you take in what's going on and you interact with your environment and you let things inform you. You get educated by that interaction. And great example, I've got a little garden just outside in the backyard. And when I moved in, I was like, I'm not going to touch anything in the garden for a year because I want to see it for a whole cycle and see what's in there and see what's going on. I'm so glad I didn't do anything because I realized there's a beautiful blackberry bush that already has fresh blackberries on it because Texas is way ahead of New Hampshire with the growing season. And if I had just gone, oh, I don't know what that like random vine is, it's probably something, but I just want to pull it out, I would be deprived of this experience of fresh sun-warmed blackberries. And so this is, again, I just have these moments where I realize this is why we observe and interact. This is why we land in a space and we see how things are moving. We see how the energy is moving. We feel the space. We don't try and impose our will on it. At least not immediately, because I believe that our will is a very precious thing and we should use it from a place of being informed.
Absolutely.
Not just like coming into a space willy-nilly and like smashing our will around. I mean, that's one way to learn for sure. My approach is a little bit more stand back and take it all in and wait until I feel like I'm being invited by a space or an idea to use that will and take an action. And where am I going with this? I'm going somewhere.
Well, I love that you invited me into the space, Justine, and I just so appreciate the connection and the reference to nature, right, of which we are being this extraordinary teacher, and then the connection of permaculture and the invitation to just take it all in, right? Listening is about receptivity and listening that there is wisdom all over us, right? I think that's what Walks in the Woods will remind us, the invitation to pay attention, to slow down and to pay attention. And this takes us to the question of collaboration, right? The invitation to have a partner come in and work with you to contribute into this thing, this precious piece of art that was birthed through you. And as you said, that part of the artistic process is letting go and not being confined to an outcome. Still, we're human. And there is that sense of, this is my baby. So share with me what collaboration looks like, what the invitation to someone to say, come co-create with me, come add to this book, this poem that wanted to be a book. And then that must have been on some level also the invitation, I want more, I want drawings, vibrant drawings. Share more about that collaboration and the invitation to work together on something that is so heartfelt.
Yeah, it came with some missteps. This is the first time that I ever worked with an illustrator. And I think in the beginning, I wasn't quite sure what it would it was like there was a feeling I was going for with the art.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had been searching on Instagram, and I found somebody who I thought would be a good fit. And so I hired her, and we started going through the process, and it just like, it didn't feel right. It was like, yeah, there was a lot of non-progress, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I needed to give her like layouts of what the images were, and like I was trying to come up with them. And I'm not really a visual person so much,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like my natural gifts are not drawing or, expressing stories through pictures. That's not like a primary front and center kind of gift for me. So when I realized that, like, wow, this isn't the right energy, this isn't the right collaboration, this isn't the right alignment. I had paid her for like the first chunk of work, which she didn't fully deliver. And I just said, you know what, I'm just going to let this go. And I'm going to say, I need to go back to the drawing board, quite literally, and find the right person. And so it was then where I started doing sessions where I would find portfolios of children's authors or illustrators and go through them. I mean, you would have laughed if you saw how many tabs I had open. It was like tap, 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 tap. I mean, it was like I would go through like an entire page, and I'd just be like, open portfolio, open portfolio, open portfolio, and then start scanning through just like, where's the resonance? Where's the energetic fit? And then I found Stella, and I was like, this is the person I've been looking for. This is the person I've been looking for. And so I reached out to her via email, and I said, I have a manuscript, and this is what I'm looking for. I feel like you totally get what I'm trying to do and the energy that I'm trying to convey. And at the end of the day, I don't know what this should look like. That is not my strong suit. Like, I'm looking for readers to feel connected and uplifted to their spark. And that when they get to the end of the book, that they feel that spark inside of them, and they're reminded that it's there, and they're reminded that it doesn't matter what's going on for them, if they're having a hard day or a great day, like that spark is there, and shining that light forward on the path for each person. And so I'm like, that's what I want. And so our collaboration was very much, we decided that it would be a hedgehog. The main character would be our little friend here.
So cute.
Following the seed. And that from there, I was hands off. I just said, you make the thing that brings you joy, make the story that you see in your head, and I am here for it. And that was, it strikes me how much so many, like, it's taken me so many years to understand this, but so many problems are who problems. It's like, I have a need for a great illustrator for this amazing children's book that I want to touch people's hearts and lives. And I want this book to be one of their favorite books. And I want them to read this book and say, wow, I feel the love of somebody who maybe I've never met, but I can feel like when I open this book, I feel that love. And this book could be nothing less than an expression of love in every aspect of how it was brought to life. And that was my commitment to this book, is that I would do it justice by making it with love and with joy and with love. And so when I found Stella, I just knew that she not only could, but would do that for this book. And so it was like, okay, now I get to let this part of the process go and put it in somebody else's very capable, talented hands. And I'm learning the more and more that I do that, like, it's not on me to do the thing that's not for me to do. It's for me to find the person whose it is to do, and to just let them pour their love into it.
Yes.
And so I'm learning how to be much more relaxed with the process by trusting that there's somebody who can help, and if I'm willing to receive their help and make space for that to happen, then something beautiful is going to be expressed. And so that's exactly what happened with Stella. And the very first picture that she sent me from the manuscript, it was fun because I think the subject line was like terrible first draft or something is what a bunch of like things that were just sketched out in a PDF, but this drawing was complete.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites as well too. Just it's just this broad space, like the sky is the limit, right? Or beyond the limit. It just foresaw such opportunity. Wow.
And
I am taken, Justine, by the trust you placed in Stella. And I wonder if we could lean into, I have this image of all these tabs open up on your computer as you're looking at portfolio after portfolio. What was it about Stella? Like, was there, because this feels again like listening, like there's an attunement, there is a coherence. What was there, a feeling? Was there a yes in your gut? Like, what was it that, what was that yes, she's the one?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above, I would say. And you know, you asked that question earlier, like, how do you know when something's coming from that spark or when it's coming from the mind or the ego? And for me, it's very much like a felt sense. There's always a sense of expansion. There's a sense of ease. There's a sense of relaxation. There's a relaxed breathing pattern. Like, it actually feels like it's coming from maybe the whole of my being rather than just like being kind of coming an energy that's coming out of my head. And so there's an awareness of how the energy is moving through the body. It's like a quiet, calm, spacious feeling where nothing is urgent and everything is perfectly here right now. Nothing is late, nothing is early, but it's just, this is it. And so it was a this is it feeling. And being so delighted, because of course one of the things that I want people to feel when they look at the illustrations is a sense of delight, and everything I saw from Stella was delightful. The color palettes, every color palette for a book is so different, and the characters are different and their environments are different, and sometimes it's humans and sometimes it's animals. Sometimes it's like deep jewel toned night skies, and sometimes it's like bright underwater landscapes. And I just loved that it really felt like what she did was to reflect like kind of the color energetic palette of the author. I have an example. Because I was out in the wild yesterday and I found one of her books on a bookshelf at a wildflower center, and I picked it up. And
wow, there are no accidents. The universe knew we were going to have this conversation and bought that book.
I guess so. And I was like, I think I really need to pick up this book. So here's Today is a New Day. And here's I Am the Tree.
Wow, vastly different. I mean, the bright colors, but I Am the Tree.
Totally different palette. And even the style is different. So if you, let me just like.
This one is kind of a deeper, because there's a similar dark page and today is a new day, but it's lighter. It's almost what's the word? Ephemeral and wow, yeah. There it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's very different, right? This
Very
palette
different. Very different color. Yeah.
is very different. I mean,
Yeah. Very different. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It would be hard for me to see it was the same illustrator, interestingly
yeah,
enough. So
even
yeah.
yeah, it's like, I mean, I think one of the things that really drew me to Stella specifically is how
Mm-hmm.
she's able to capture light in
Yes.
her. There's a
Yeah.
luminosity in her
Absolutely.
illustrations, and I think this page really captures that.
Absolutely. 100%. It does. It does. Yeah. Not easy to do. Yes, she
Not
does.
easy to do, and such a different style. So
Yes. Yes.
her yeah, just her range
Yeah.
that she has to
Mhm.
take the true spark of an
Yeah.
author's words and bring them to life is
Yeah.
really powerful. And so
Mhm.
that spoke to me so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so when I reached out and I asked if she would be interested, and it was a 16-month wait to have her
Oh, and you
illustrate.
waited. You
And
waited.
of course I did, because when it's the right thing, even if it's
Absolutely.
a 16-month wait, it's the
Yeah.
right thing. So how could you go wrong by waiting for the right
Mhm.
thing?
Mhm. How could you go wrong by waiting for the right thing? I just so appreciate that. Again, that goes back to trust. Trust your instinct, trust your heart, trust your gut, trust timing. That's so key in a creative endeavor. And what came to mind for me, Justine, as you were talking about where your primal inclination is with the words, and then Stella's is with the imagery. And I'm thinking about film and what music brings to film, how it elicits and deepens your emotions as you're looking at the pictures. And I feel the same way with the illustrator. It adds something to it. It's not just, oh, beware, there might be challenges along the way, but to really kind of darken it really had a visceral effect on me. So really complementary, these two forms of art. And obviously she listens well too, because she was able to capture what you said to her. I want this to be kind of birth of love and care, because it feels that way. Everything that you did, the GoFundMe, the card that comes with the book, it just oozes love. So your intentionality just shines through. And I love is something that is important to both of us. And I'd love, there's the word again, right? What does when you hear the word love, Justine, what comes to mind for you? How have you come to know love through your travels, through marriage, through authoring a book, looking at the world that we currently live in? What does that word elicit for you?
Hmm. Well, first, I feel like there's so many different kinds of love. And
Mhm.
there are some languages that have many, many, many different words for different kinds of love. And I feel like
Yeah.
English is very one-dimensional, strangely, um,
Mhm.
in terms of expressing love. You know,
Yes.
it's I mean, the love that I have for the smell of the earth after it rains is maybe a little bit different than the love that I have for my husband or the love that I have for my family.
Mhm.
Um, but when you say, because I feel like I've traversed through many different experiences and expressions of love, the thing when you say love now is like just an infinite expanse of aliveness and life and like life wanting to be infinitely creative and expressed. And I'm a big fan of infinite games. I don't like zero-sum games. Zero-sum games aren't fun. Like somebody wins, somebody loses, and the game's over. Like boring. I like a game where everybody plays so that everybody can keep playing. And I feel like that's what life is. I feel like life is this infinite game, and that love is woven all through it. That love is perhaps the, I don't want to use the word engine, but I want to, there's almost like a propulsion. There's a propulsion energy that moves this energy and this frequency like throughout everything. Like there is love in this cup, and there is love in this table, and there's love in this beeswax candle, and you know, there's love in these books.
Totally.
And so more and more I feel like love is simply the foundation and the substrate. Substrate that is in everything.
Yes. So beautiful. I was so taken by your analogy of love propelling, a propulsion. Because what came to mind for me is your love of travel. You brought that up earlier today. I know you. We share that. And what has travel done for you? What does it do for you? How has travel forged you? You shared earlier that you took some time to travel. That's when you sold your bike before you bought the peacock blue bike that you so love right now. But what does travel do for Justine? What does it make of Justine? How has it informed Justine?
Travel picked up where books left off in a way. In the sense that everybody who writes a book is a human who is either alive or used to be alive, and whose feet walked on the earth. And every person had parents, and they were born into a family, and they were a young child, and they grew up, and they went to school, and they had the experiences that they had. And now they have, because of their specific smorgasbord of experiences, they have a perspective. They have a way of seeing. They have, like, I feel like every person is like a facet of this very multifaceted jewel called humanity. And I've heard a lot through my life, fear from people, fear from governments toward other governments, fear from countries toward other countries, fear from different kinds of people towards other kinds of people. And a lot of that has never really made sense to me. I can see on one level like why things are the way that they are, but still, like, it's not really how I see the world. And it's not really like, if I could wave a wand and be like, this is how the world works according to Justine, like, this world would be very, very different. And it would be very much based and play-based and creativity-based, and focused a lot on abundance and sharing and understanding that we actually do have enough, but we just have to set up systems the right way so that everybody has access to what they need to have access to. And I'm not saying that we should be having some sort of like big communist structure, because I also don't believe in huge structures a lot of the time, because I think they oversee a lot of nuance, geographic and otherwise, and cultural, that needs to express in more of a like a regional, local kind of way. But anyway, all of that aside, is travel, I wanted to see for myself. You know, I feel like when I was younger, the political divide wasn't as intense as it appears to be right now, and I don't even know if the appears to be is really just,
Mhm.
like, kind of media manufactured or, you know, fear and uncertainty that are clouding people's judgment or whatever it is. But what I can say is one of the things that I did is in 2010, I wanted to really see the US. And so I traveled for 3 months, 3.5 months by myself. I had 2 bicycles on my roof rack of my car, and I had hula hoops in my trunk, and I had all my tiny little stuffed animals in my back seat, like, looking out the rear window. I called them my rear window guard. So I had some totoros and a lobster and a little wombat, and, you know, I had my whole, like, little stuffy collection watching out the back window for me. And, yeah, I was in my mid-20s, and I traveled for 3.5 months all by myself all over the US. I had $1,600 in my bank account. I think I paid for lodgings 3 nights out of the entire time I traveled. Um, and so it was this grand adventure,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
everywhere I went, I met wonderful people. I met people in the backwoods of Montana and Utah and Colorado and California and New Mexico, like, all over the place. I went from New Hampshire all the way to California and back. And I
Wow.
took a circuitous route. I went to 7
Mhm,
different national parks, and sometimes I stayed for a week in a place, sometimes I stayed a night in a place.
mhm.
And so that was like my first kind of grand travel adventure. And then, you know, I've been to many Southeast Asian countries. I've been to European countries. I've been to Kenya. The only continent besides Antarctica that I haven't been to is South America. So I hope to
Mhm.
change that very soon. But what I've understood, or my perspective, is like everyone everywhere is the same. We're all the same. Our culture's different. Our cultures differ, of course. You know, we have different practices, different beliefs, different ways of washing our clothes, or different ways of spending our leisure time, or different ways of, you know, worshiping the gods that we have and all of that. We all laugh the same. We all cry the
Mhm.
same. We all want to be seen and appreciated. We all want to have good, happy family lives. We want to have good work that feels meaningful and productive and like it gives back. And so there are so many things that I've seen about humans that are just the same. It's like we all like you peel off our skin, we all literally look the same.
Mhm.
We are this we're one. We're one expression of a human family, like expressing the myriad creative dreams of the world through
Yeah.
each one of our own unique experiences and places of birth.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's really, if I never traveled again,
Yeah.
those things would still be true, and I would still know those things to be true. That
Mhm.
humans are really wonderfully creative and loving and capable and wise and brilliant and funny and delightful. And we have fears. We have things we're good at. We have things we're terrible at. You know, there are ways that we need to rely on each other. And
Mhm.
there are experiences that we hold inside that may prevent us from expressing ourselves fully, or may have us be in fear because of something inside of us that hasn't been processed.
Yes.
Um, we all have all of these things. And, you know, so I really see the differences that seem to be very blown out of proportion, just
Mhm.
as that, as differences. We have a different lens on something. It doesn't mean that this person is right or this person is wrong. It just
Mhm.
means we get that is an invitation for us to understand the other person's journey and understand each other more deeply, and learn that when we actually understand those things, we're probably not that far apart anyway.
Amen. I so deeply appreciate that. And there is it's difficult to hate an other when there's proximity, right? When you're breaking bread with someone, when you're on a campsite with someone, it's sharing that story. And I think that's the gift of travel. I never thought of travel as a luxury. I felt it was part of the human education, even if it's going to a block that's unfamiliar to you, or driving your car to another neighborhood or another county. That counts as travel as well too. But to put yourself out there with that sense of curiosity and trust is utterly key, and I think bears repeating over and over and over and over again. And so as we close, this hour went so utterly quickly. I will beseech you for a part two, because there's so many things we didn't talk about. One of the what I always love to end, Justine, is to envision with creatives, right, that they're going to be, this snippet of SCCaR will be put into the proverbial bottle, and a message will be in that bottle, and we'll kind of fast forward or magically send that message, let's say, to the next generation in 20 years. What would you like to say to our fellow humans who come in 20 years, who will be immersed likely in a very different context than we are now? What message would you send their way as they navigate life?
2046.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 years in the future. Probably something like, trust your spark, it knows the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to quote Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers.
Yes.
And trust the rhythms and cycles and context that you're born into, to help you understand what life is seeking from you, and also what will bring you the greatest joy is absolutely worth pursuing.
Perfect. Thank you. I was hoping you would bring up your beautiful book, because that needs to be placed, and will be, I believe, deeply into a bottle. I mean, some messages are timeless, right? No matter the context, some messages are timeless. Trust your heart. Look for the helpers. Remember that you're in that context for a particular reason. There are no accidents, right? Timing is everything, is what we talked about. Trust the timing and trust where you are. And thank you, dear Justine. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for the love and the luminosity that you are pouring into the world. Recently, I watched a documentary about artificial intelligence, and there are those who see gloom, and there are those who see promise, and there are those who are in the middle. And one thing that really struck me was the direction we go as humans will largely depend on the choices we make. And one of the recommendations was to remember our humanity, to really remember what it means to be human, which I feel has been a through line in our conversation. And so books like your beautiful offering is such a reminder to us. I feel like that will be a necessary part of the curiosity curriculum to plant those seeds, remind our kids, remind ourselves. I'm an adult at 57, and every other day I look at your beautiful book. Today is a new day, and what am I going to choose? Who am I going to choose to be? Where am I going to place my attention? So thank you for this treasure. And I can't wait to see what taps you on the shoulder next to be birth. So thank you, my friend, for being here. So appreciate you.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you. Thank you. I can't believe an hour went so fast.
I know. Yeah.
One thing that I will just invite any listeners is that I, along with a beautiful producer whose name is Theo Grace, he and I turned it into an audiobook, which you can listen to for free on Spotify. And so if you want 5 minutes of Today is a New Day in your ears on the road, that's a very easy way to listen to it. And I really wanted to create a version that made it accessible to everybody, no matter where they work, because sometimes it's very difficult and expensive ship things in certain places and directions, especially now with oil supply and this and that. I can imagine that's just going to get more challenging as time goes on. So wanted to have a version that's just easy, click on, listen to it, and you don't have to worry about ordering a book somewhere. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share and to be in a place of reflection as to how these things came about, and really to know that so much of it, maybe all of it, like none of it was me. I'm just witnessing this process, which life handles very, very well on its own. And so the more I get out of the way and just allow life to flow in its own aliveness and timing, like the better things and more ease happens, and lessons come more easily as well. So I guess those would be my final words, is just let life lead you through the process and see what magic unfolds as a result.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying yes when the knock came. Thank you for the courage it took to surrender to life and say, use me. That is not always easy to do. So thank you for inspiring us, because the more we see this, the more we see what it looks like and what it sounds like to surrender to life, I think the more of that we're going to witness in our humanity. So thank you again, dear friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to end the recording, and